Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. We're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3 and Mechabellum again, and World of Warcraft Classic Discovery. But first, my name is Christian.
I'm Bobby.
And I'm Nick. And one thing that I'm surprised by this week is how many subs that we have on YouTube. We only have 407, which is pretty crazy due to the fact that we have so many monthly listeners on Spotify and Apple Music and things like that. If you don't know, our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@digitalogic with a K. So youtube.com/@digitalogic with a K. If we get 1,000 subs, I will do a review video for the King 2. So if you want to see that, sub to our channel, send it to your friends, send it to your family, send it to your enemies, and hopefully we reach 1,000 subs in like the next 2 months.
Dude, especially your enemies, right?
Dude, imagine sending us to someone that you don't like. Like, hey, listen to these assholes.
Yeah.
It's like,
This
what?
is
I haven't talked to you since
punishment.
high school.
I would wish this podcast on my worst enemies.
Yeah. How's your guys' week's been so far?
Dude, pretty fucking busy. With Mechabellum, I didn't do shit this fucking week. It's disgusting. How about you,
and
Bobby?
your tactics games. Yeah, what about you, Bobby?
Pretty uneventful. Yeah.
Not
Not
getting-
a whole
did
lot
you get
to
a lot
write
of-
home about.
Did you get a lot of video gaming time in this week or no?
No.
No.
No, one of these days. I've got too many vacation hours, so I think I'm going to take like a whole whopping 2 weeks off in December, late December. So, yeah, maybe I'll get some game time in then, get involved in something, actually get deep into a game, which hasn't happened in a while. Not since Dave the Diver, I think.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Ooh.
You got any games in mind that you want to play?
Honestly, I want to go back and play Dave the Diver. They've had a lot of updates, man. I mean, it's worth checking in on, but it's a bit of a sand trap. Dip a toe in, and
I was talking to this guy at the bar, and he had all these rings on his hands, and I was like, dude, nice rings. Like, I feel like I don't see a lot of dudes sport these huge artistic rings, and they were all kind of the same vibe. And he's like, thanks. It's because I'm in this organization, obviously a biker gang. I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. And then he's like, but I've been playing the shit out of Dave the Diver.
That's
It's
an
like- It's penetrated the Hell's Angels are playing Dave the Diver. I don't know, like it's so universal, it's so mainstream, which is kind of cool.
That is pretty awesome. You think he's like a closet nerd with all the bikers? He's like, I gotta check who's nominated for Game of the Year. I gotta play those games.
I don't know.
Hot
Maybe.
Rod. I can't go on this hit on this weekend. I gotta play more Dave the Diver.
Yeah.
well, speaking
Well-
of Game of the Year, that's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, on the 4th,
Uh,
right? December 4th is the Game Awards this weekend, something?
AKA,
Okay.
yeah,
So it'll be the day before this releases.
interesting.
All
I
right, so
think Baldur's Gate is going to take a lot of awards,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Oh, it is Thursday, December 7th. My bad. But yes,
Okay.
Baldur's Gate will probably sweep the floor, and maybe Dave the Diver too. There's so
I
many
think
games.
Dave the Diver will.
Dude, they need 2 Game Awards for sure.
I mean, have you been getting inundated with Steam emails regarding and Steam alerts on Steam? It's like, vote for this game for soundtrack of the year. It's currently nominated. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? There's a Steam Awards now? Like, what?
Yeah,
Well,
they
they've
did the
always done
Steam
that.
Awards. Yeah, last year was the first year I paid attention to the Steam Awards and went through every category. It's just I don't know. With the Game Awards, it's like press voting and industry experts, I guess. But there's a pool of 1,000 people. But on Steam, it just feels like the most popular game is going to win, like the game with the biggest community.
Yeah.
Well, they do have a Player's Choice Award in the Game Awards.
Yeah. Did you guys vote for the Game Awards this year or no?
I did. Yep.
Same. So Bobby, I know you probably played the original Turok. This is when On the Radar starts, by the way. And Bobby's going to talk about Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion Remastered. What do you got about that?
All right. So this game came out on the 30th of November, and I didn't realize it. So I had the first 2 Turok remasters, and I never played the Turok games back in the day. They were console games. I was on PC by that point in time, so I missed out on them, but I always wanted to see what they're all about. And they were really hard in that way that only old games are, where if you miss the tiniest thing, you can't progress to the next level. I think Seeds of Evil had this like key system where you had to find certain objects in order to get through certain doors, and they were pretty well hidden. And after you kill all the enemies in the level, it's kind of hard to find your way around and figure out like where you've already been. You know how you use enemies as kind of like a map, as like, oh, this is an area I haven't explored yet. I don't know. There are a lot of things that were really difficult about that game, but I'm hoping Turok 3 might be a little more player friendly here. This remaster is pretty much just a graphical upgrade, 4K, 120 frames a second. They also said updated gameplay, so I don't know what that means, and gamepad support, so support for controllers, which is nice. What is very interesting about this is it's being restored by the original developers, Night Dive Studios. And I've never really paid attention to these developers, but when I looked at them on Steam, I realized they have developed quite a bit for a very long time. Old games like Turok, but also a lot of remasters, including the recent System Shock remaster. And they're currently working on a Dark Forces remaster. So these guys are very well experienced, and judging on the games that I have played by them, the original Turok ones or the Turok remasters, they stay pretty faithful to the original game. It's not like Black Mesa where they change a lot of things. Like these are pretty much the original game, but just, up and running and compatible with modern systems. So
Is that what you're looking for, though? Are you looking for just right out of the box graphical upgrade? Like that's what you really liked about this game?
I don't know. I think it's okay. See, for me, it doesn't really matter with Turok because I didn't play the originals. So I'm not like, if they change something, I'm not even going to know really. And I'm not going to be upset about it. Um, with other games, I don't know. I feel like they can change some things, but you got to be careful about what you change. And for the most part, I think most people make good remakes. They don't usually mess it up. Like the Command and Conquer remasters were pretty good. And I guess remaster kind of implies that it's updating the game, not necessarily changing it.
What's interesting to me is that you don't see many of the time of the original developers working on the remake. I wonder if there's any people from the old team directly that have been working on it. Like, oh, maybe they have some tweaks that they wanted to put in, but they never could. Because back then you couldn't update games. Like you would release a game, it'd come out for N64, and you're like, there it goes. If something's broken, something's broken.
Yeah, well, they would release patches on games, but they would host it on their website, and nobody really knew about it. If it was a multiplayer game, sometimes like they would try to direct players to there, or you couldn't play certain maps unless you had like the same version as everyone else did on that server. But yeah, it wasn't as nice as it was today. Before we move on, a little bit of an update here. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about a game, Orton Was the Case, this hand-painted, very interesting looking 2D adventure game. And we were guessing what the price was on that. Emilio guessed 20, I guessed 17, and Nick guessed 9, and Christian guessed 13. I guess it's a tie between Christian and I because the game is $15, $14.99. Are we playing
Price is Right rules?
Yeah, Price is Right. If you go over, you lose.
No, I don't think if it's 1 cent that should fucking count, dude. That's always been the dumbest thing.
Oh yeah, that was dumb. But I mean,
I think when you say 15
off.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true.
And I was only $1 off, so I win. It's clear cut. It's mathematics, folks. Call Aristotle.
13.
I figured it out.
Wait, what?
Them's just fighting words. You want to explain it?
I'm just reading the show notes. B, $16.99. C, $12.99.
Yeah,
oh,
so
shit.
12, 13, 14,
right.
that's $2. Yeah. Okay.
Hold the phone on Aristotle. Hang up the phone on Aristotle. Don't call him. Don't bother him.
Don't call him.
All right.
Tell God, tell him not to pick up the phone.
Oh, boy. Our listeners have told me that they love it when we do math on the show, like when we just try to figure things out and take forever to solve math problems.
If we get 1,000 subs on YouTube, we'll do long division. We'll do a whole video.
If we get 1,000 subs,
no calculator, just uncut, no editing.
All in our head.
if we get 2,000 subs, we'll do like the grade 5 math for like end test for the grade. Every single one of us live on stream.
Oh God, I'd fucking fail. Yeah. If I had a pen and paper though, still probably might fail, but I'm more unstoppable. We might be able to get Aristotle on the line. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Orton Was the Case, Bobby? Did you, now that it's out and there's some reviews, did more intrigued, less intrigued?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too hyped about this game to begin with. The reviews are 100% positive, but there's only 43 of them, so it's not making a big splash, but people do like it.
Interesting.
I would love to get this on a Steam. I just feel like this is a cool Steam Deck game. Orton Was the Case, I should say. I have Starminer this week, and this has kind of captured my attention and got me a little hyped. Maybe a couple degrees more hyped than Bobby. It is a modular spaceship miner manager. So you're starting tiny. As you mine the asteroids in space, you get profits, you upgrade your station, and it gets bigger and bigger. You have this balance of expanding your mercenary fleet to defend your mining operations versus increasing mining yields. So refineries, being able to penetrate different types of rock, being more efficient with your power supply and your labor usage. It seems pretty in-depth. There's a heat mechanic, so aliens come after you if you mine too much, if you have too much heat, if your stations get too big. Kind of reminds me of like, have you guys seen Titan AE, that old animated space movie?
I feel like I have when I was younger.
It was kind of not a kid's movie, but it was animated and a while ago, so I feel like a lot of kids watched it because parents might have picked it up. But there's quite a bit of like blood and gore in it. So my parents, that was not allowed in our house, but they bought it for me, and I got to sit down privately and experience maybe like an 18 or 9. There was even sex in it, I think. There was a titty or two, if I remember correctly. Anyways, Titan AE, basically the Earth has been destroyed and humans are surviving in all these little outposts, but anytime too many humans get together, this alien force made of energy comes and tries to kill them. So I'm getting that same feeling here.
That's very similar. Have you ever heard of All Tomorrows?
I have not heard of All Tomorrows.
I think you would actually really like this. It is very similar to that as far as like the story and what things like mean. Essentially, humans have gotten to the point where they have essentially conquered the solar system and solar systems around it, and we've become like extremely blasé about space. And what ends up happening is a race that is extremely above our power level completely wrecks us, and then they like start transforming humans and their anatomy to fit the planets that they fit on. So humans look like these abominations, like one-eyed dolphins and things like that. It's known as one of the most depressing stories, by the way.
Oh.
But it's called All Tomorrows. I'll send it to you. Have you ever heard of Alt-Shift-X?
I haven't heard of that either.
So Alt-Shift-X was a guy who did a bunch of videos on a lot of HBO shows, specifically Game of Thrones, and he compared the books to the movie. And he has like millions of subs, and like I think he almost has 1 billion views. Maybe not 1 billion, maybe 500 million. But every time people watched his videos, I mean, every time like a video of Game of Thrones would come out, people would be like, all right, I can't wait to see what Alt-Shift-X says about it. And it would usually come out like either the day after or 2 days after. So yeah, you should check that out.
Wait, what's that have to do with? I mean, I will, but was this a random suggestion during the Starminer segment?
Yeah, you said something that in regards to like if you get too many humans together in the story, in the movie that you were talking about, if too many humans get close together, like an alien race shows up and like wrecks shit.
Yeah.
I was making that connection, by the way.
I don't see. I'm too dumb to understand the connection, but I will check it out. Yeah, Titan AE, if you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. Super cool animation, great story. But this kind of gave me the same vibe, the Starminer. It's developed by Cool and Good Games, and this is their first game. So congratulations, Cool and Good Games. Can't wait for the 2024 early access release of Starminer. I think you sold me on the trailer and the Steam page. So good luck and see you in 2024. Nick, stalking someone?
Do you have any like prior knowledge of like the Stalker series at all? You or Bobby?
Only this
I think
podcast.
I think I've played one of the games.
So for those who don't know, Stalker is a game that's about the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Essentially, the radiation has caused things to go insane. There's these things called anomalies, which can like literally explode people, and they look like like wind is distorted, and they're like usually orbs or like oblong in shape. It's like a very big meme in like Eastern Europe to have a bolt on you to throw into the anomaly so that the anomaly reacts to the bolt, and then you can continue on your way. It's Stalker 2 has been being asked for by thousands of Eastern Europeans, as well as a bunch of people in the West after the Metro series, because Metro was kind of like very similar in the same vein, but it wasn't as free or as open world as Stalker. But Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl got a release trailer, or not a release trailer, a preview trailer of some of the systems in the game this past week. So the game's still in Chernobyl. The graphics are way better than the first one. The first one, the graphics and the gameplay and the engine were awful. The release is in Q1 of next year. As far as like new features or like things that they're kind of advertising, they're saying that they're AI for all of their new creatures, and they guarantee a shit ton of new creatures and new guns. They say that the enemy AI is so complex that they don't have to make things into bullet sponges to make them hard, which seems interesting. Usually in video games, when you like increase the difficulty of something, it ends up being, the enemy has 3 times as much health and deals 2 times as much damage. So it's always interesting when they when companies say that they made the game harder without having to do that. They said that the gameplay is still non-linear. It's very much open world. And oddly enough, the thing that they announced pretty early, which people are kind of skeptical about, is the multiplayer after launch. The first one didn't really have multiplayer. You had to mod it to be able to play multiplayer. And that didn't work very often. Most people usually crashed. The game in itself was pretty unstable. It just wasn't fun to play, especially on newer operating systems. It would crash all the time. But yeah, the game looks great as far as like graphics go. Gameplay looks smooth and simple. I might pick this up depending on like the opening reviews. It won't be like an immediate buy. So does this appeal to you guys at all?
Oh, super, it does. And I think Emilio was saying a while ago when he was talking about this that it's very much like scavenger based. Like your ammo and everything you have is limited, and if you use that in engagements, you have to find a way to craft or find something else before engaging again. It's not just like a shooter, like a straight shooter.
Yes. So the Stalker series is known for in the first game, like very much you would pick up scrap and stuff to sell to scrappers to be able to buy ammo. So like you weren't really crafting and stuff like that for the most part. You could craft a little bit, but it wasn't like very immense crafting system. They're saying the same thing for this game. It's not a run and gun shooter like Call of Duty where you have like 300 rounds on you. They did talk about a hunger meter, a thirst meter, and all that kind of stuff, which is interesting because that was in the first one in a minor way, but it was modded in. So we'll see.
Okay.
I was mistaken. I've played a Metro game. I get these confused with the Metro games.
They're very similar.
Game.
Very,
well,
very
they seem like they look very similar, but it looks like these are more open world. The Metro game, well, at least the one or two that I played, I remember being a little more of A to B linear single player campaign.
Yeah.
And these Stalker games, so the title is actually an abbreviation of something, an acronym, because it's got the periods. Do we know what that means? I'm sure.
Let me take a look. Let me see what it means. Scavengers, trespassers, adventurers, loners, killers, explorers, and robbers.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I like
it's
that.
not a sentence or anything. By the way, for those who don't know, there was a suspicion that the developers are Russian or of other Eastern European descent. They're actually a completely Ukrainian team. And this is one of those teams that when the invasion of Ukraine began, they didn't know if they were going to be able to continue working on Stalker 2. And then they, as some of them fled the country and some of them, found stability, they did announce that they were still working on the game.
Okay, cool. It says, yeah, they're headquartered in the Czech Republic right now. So I think maybe a good majority of them hopefully are safe and sound. Yeah. When they say multiplayer after launch, does that mean like on launch they'll have multiplayer, or just a period of time they're going to be working on multiplayer to release after launch?
I think they're currently working on it, and that they're waiting to like. I think they're not going to have multiplayer ready by the launch window. I think they want people to play the single player experience and then play multiplayer. So yeah, I think that's what that means. Multiplayer after launch. There's not much of an explanation after that, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, dude, this thanks for bringing this up. I love the look of this game. I think from what you and Emilio have said, I would have a lot of fun. It reminds me of like the closest thing maybe I've played to it is like a hardcore modded Fallout New Vegas with like a thirst meter, hunger meter, and a lot of crafting. Obviously, this isn't turn-based with, Fallout New
yeah,
Vegas
this is
combat,
but yeah, no, this is definitely if you played the Metro series, it's very much in the similar vein. I know you haven't. Very Eastern European design and video game design. Very bleak, very Dead Zone-y. Like moments where like nothing can happen and then everything can happen at once. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it, but
I haven't played this, Tarkov, or any of the Metro games, so I feel like I'm missing out on a large portion of like video game design pie. Like I haven't explored this type of game.
What's funny is that Stalker says that they're a combination of survival, horror, and milsim. The first game wasn't milsimmy because of how bad the graphics were and the engine was. So I'm interested to see how milsim they're talking about. I've actually skirted away from shooters for some reason. I don't know why. I've been playing a lot more fantasy games, probably because of Baldur's Gate actually. But I should get back into them one day.
You're saying that the graphics were horrible for Stalker, the original Shadow of Chernobyl?
Yeah, the original launch graphics were not very good.
Oh man, I'm looking at the Steam page. I'm pretty impressed for 2007. That's kind of good for
2007. Like now.
Yeah. Oh, now, yeah. But on launch, I feel like if they actually had those graphics, that's pretty good. Okay. Highlights, games that we actually have been playing, not that we're just speculating about. Nick, have you lost your life? Do you need an intervention? How is World of Warcraft Classic going?
No, because what's interesting about this is that the end game is so short, and they don't want people to completely throw their life into the oblivion for this game. What's interesting is that the level cap is 25, and if you had no impediments and you had no issues, you would most likely be able to get to level 25 within probably 12 hours, 12 or 14 hours, which is not that bad considering how slow it was on launch. Boy, howdy. I was one of the first 10,000 people on my server. And I have never experienced WoW like that in my life. So do you know what sharding is, or in like servers or anything like that for MMOs?
Nick, you've asked us that so many times. Let's just assume we don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't have to preface it. Just go into the explanation. Also, sharding.
Sharding.
I've heard of sharding. I've heard of sharding. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So sharding is when you have like a mega server where it can host like hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay.
And you break the server up into different subservers so that you don't have 3,000 people in the same area and it's like completely inundated and people can't play because all the mobs are being killed.
Right.
Well, for some odd reasons, when they launched the servers, they launched it without any sharding at all.
They didn't shard. They didn't want any shards.
They did not shard. And so, like I said, this is the first time it's ever happened to me when it came to WoW. There was so many people in the starting zone that people were waiting in line to kill stuff.
Yeah.
Like people were queuing to kill stuff, and then eventually it broke into chaos, and then everybody went. It was like a free for all. What would have normally taken me 2 hours to get to level 10, right? Took me 3.5 hours because of this.
Yeah.
It like once you get to the next zone after like the starting zone, and it's on an island for the horde. You have so many people just running around and like there's spells flying everywhere. There's mobs aggroing everywhere. And there's this thing called hyper spawning. And I've only experienced this once before, but not because of a release, but because of an event. Hyper spawning is this thing where the game detects even when sharding is activated, because now they have 10 shards per server or more. It was 10 day before yesterday. So it could be more if more people join. If there are so many people in an area, even if sharding is on, what they do is they turn the spawn timer on to like 5 times the rate. And what ends up happening is if you're questing or something and it's like, oh, go kill these 10 cultists, right? You'll kill a couple of cultists, and before you can turn around and like run out of the cave, they've all respawned.
Oh.
And in WoW Classic, it is very hard, like at level 10, to take on more than one enemy at a time. And so when things are spawning so fast, people are just getting slaughtered. It's very interesting. It's very it was definitely a unique experience. I think now if you got into it, like over a week later or like over 6 or 7 days later, when this comes out, you will not have that problem. Like I had a buddy make a new character yesterday, didn't have nearly as bad as a problem as us. He did see a lot of people in the starting zone, but that's to be expected. People have already hit the level cap. It's 25, and they're releasing these in seasons. So the rumor is that in 3 or 4 months we're going to get the next one, which expands the level cap to 40. Which going from level 25 to 40 is twice as much time. So yeah, it can be pretty intimidating. I got to level 16. There is a fuck ton of new abilities. Every class has anywhere between 8 to 12 new abilities or abilities from expansions later on, which is really interesting. So for example, there's I'm a shaman. There's this thing called Overload. Overload came out, I believe, 2 expansions after the original WoW Classic. And Overload, what it does is that you have a 33% chance of your spells sending out another version of itself, like mirroring itself, for like damaging and healing spells. And to put that in like original WoW Classic is just really interesting because like it just wasn't part of it. But there's completely unique abilities. There's passive abilities. There's active abilities. It's like mages can heal, which is like insane. Like they've always been a strictly DPS class. They can heal people using time magic. And usually I am strictly a shaman player, but I'm like, I just want to try mage so bad. But we'll see.
I want to go back really quick to what you were saying about sharding.
Yeah.
I have ideas on this sort of design choice for MMOs and like sharing a shared universe because of the Star Wars Galaxies project and like kind of the choices we were making there because we were running into the same issues, like clusters of people in certain zones were just too much to handle. I think that shared experience of you walking in and having to line up is like what I personally love about MMOs, like more the social aspect and feeling like you're in a world with all these other people. I don't really like the choice to shard or even instance dungeons or areas, because when something's instanced, you're taking it out of the world, and you don't even get, as an observer, the chance to see another group do a dungeon. Like, you're not just locked out; you're locked out of viewing it. You're locked out of participating in any capacity.
You know what's funny is that you say that, and people have suggested in the past is that if you had friends running a dungeon, you could see like them in a ghost crew. Like you could activate that.
That would
was
be
something
super
that was
cool.
that like in like kind of like in Dark Souls, where if someone's in the same area as you and they're in the same region of the world as you, you can see them actively play. Like you see their ghost running around. You're like, what the fuck? But that was something that was being suggested around Mista Pandaria. They were like, suggest a feature that we can implement. And people suggested that, and I think that's super cool. I think so. There is non-instance dungeons kind of in WoW, and there's like world bosses and like these zones that are very, very difficult that you can consider possibly a dungeon, where there's multiple world bosses and things like that, but not in Classic. So I love the social aspect, dude. The amount of like the economy is insane like right now in the game,
In like a good way or a bad way, like
in like every way possible, as bad as that sounds, because like you got things that would normally be like 10 copper being like 4 gold. You got things that would normally be like 10 gold is like 50 silver. It's just all over the place. But usually the economy fixes itself after about 3 months, 4 months when a new expansion comes out. And like, oh, actually, this is something I wanted to bring up, and I totally forgot to put in my notes. For the first time ever in my life, when I saw the price of gold, so this is something that's illegal in the game, but people do it anyways, is you can buy gold with real money. Guess how much 1 gold was on launch?
Oh, dude, I don't. $10. Is that too high?
That's too high. So normally, in Classic, I believe you can buy 100 gold for like $20, I think it was, or $15, depending on the server and the server population and what faction you were. It was, like I said, the first time in my life that's happened, that the dollar was less valuable than WoW gold. It was $3.57 for 1 gold.
Wow,
Jesus, that seems.
That means if you got a gold in World of Warcraft Classic, you had digital currency that was more valuable than the US dollar. Isn't that insane? But yeah, it's a blast. If you've never played WoW, I actually think that this might be a good experience for you, because new WoW is like, you feel like you're fucking on like a virus controlled internet. In my opinion, there's so many pop-ups, there's so many things showing up, there's so many things to click and like pay attention to and all that stuff. While Classic is a way different experience. It's a lot slower, it's a lot more mellow. It's not to say it's boring, it's not. It's very challenging, it's fun, but it's not like inundated with pop-ups and like cinematics and all these things that people skip anyway. So definitely check it out. If you're an old Classic player, it makes the game so much more fun. So yeah, check it out.
Okay, Bobby, interested?
I just don't have the time. Yeah, I mean, it sounds cool. It sounds cool, because I think it kind of fills the gap that existed between WoW, or between Classic and retail, because a lot of people, retail just got kind of bloated and out of hand. But then you go back to Classic and it was just a little rough around the edges. You forgot how difficult things were. So I'm glad they're kind of finding something in the middle.
Last thing I will say about the game is the way you get the new abilities is called rune engraving, which like makes you do these really weird and out of the way quests. For example, for hunters, to get one of their new runes, they have to find a suspicious bush which spawns randomly in multiple zones, and you have to hunter's mark it. And then the bush just like scurries away.
That's so fun, dude. That is so fun.
For shamans, I'm playing with my friends, and there's literally 14 of us in one Discord lobby, and we're in 3 different groups. And I'm like walking, and I'm like, did anyone see that lightning? Like the game thing that's never happened in the game before. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just saw lightning appear in the horizon. Like, did anyone else see that? Or am I going fucking crazy? Or did my graphics card just shit itself? And lo and behold, as a shaman, to get one of your new abilities or like secret abilities, because some of them are secrets, right? Some of them you can just completely walk by and not know. If you see this lightning, there is a totem that's at the bottom where the lightning is, or where it struck, and you can interact with it and do its little quest, and then you get its new
that's
new
so
ability.
Cool, dude. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did. There's another one where this is the most social one, actually. This is the one I find the most interesting. So as a priest, there is a new healing spell that can be unlocked. But what you have to do is you have to pray with someone with 3 different race religions. And so what that means, so the undead worship like undead gods and stuff. The Taurens worship the Earth Mother and a bunch of other shit. The trolls worship the Loas. And so what you have to do is you have to find somebody with the buff of a different race or their race. And if you don't have that, you have to / kneel and then / pray. And after about 10 seconds, you'll get their buff as well. And once you get 3, you'll get it.
That is so cool, dude. That reminds me of like, it's like that's some Star Wars Galaxy's social shit. That's like teaching fucking Wookiee or teaching the Kashyyyk language to like a human outside of the starport so he can, like, I don't know, it's just a super cool player-to-player interaction idea.
Yeah, so there's so many cool things like that. And like I said, it's not like WoW, like current WoW, where it's like a bunch of pop-up windows and like exclamation marks and question marks and like all your action bars are full of like spells you won't use. So it's very fun. Check it out.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, I think I've avoided it for long enough to putting it officially on my highlights, but fortunately, we need to say a prayer because Baldur's Gate 3 is actually a good game. You know, back in whenever the fuck this came out and you guys were all going crazy over it, you know, I had my suspicions. But no, obviously this game is awesome. And you already know it's awesome out there. Most of you have been playing it. Bobby and Nick, you've also been playing it or have played it. But who hasn't played it is my wife, Rianne, and she's not played D&D or a CPRG. So there's lots of cool things that I feel like through her eyes I have rediscovered as being things that I just kind of maybe was a little bit more intuitive or aware of. First of all, you can romance people in the game, and I'm trying to romance Shadowheart. I don't care. Me and her are destined to be. I don't know if she's super evil. I don't know yet. She has some red flags, I admit. She has amnesia over most of her life. She has an undying love for a dark god. But I think we can move past those differences because I'm a cleric, and so is she. So we have something in common, even though I'm a cleric of the light and she is not. Ground types matter. So things thrown on the ground, like fire or grease or webs, they will affect combat in huge ways. And if you're out of combat and you walk on those, it'll also affect combat. There is a hole you can fall down at the beginning of the game, and we didn't save until we got off the ship, which is probably 10 minutes before that, and we fell down the hole and we got wiped. And that one was pretty rough because I said, watch out for the hole, and she said, okay, but I don't think she really understood. Like, there's a tiny hole, but then the whole
collapses.
Area around that is like rock that is prone to collapse. Yes. So anyways, that happened. We got wiped. Also, stealing stuff can be horrible. So a couple times now, we've stolen stuff in a group of people who we don't want to hate us. And, you know, spoiler alert, they end up hating us. So that's been challenging. And the last one is area attacks can be good or bad. So she's playing a ranger. I'm playing a cleric. And she'll get all these cool arrows, but unfortunately a couple times have launched them into our melee fighters who have been affected by the area of the attack. So I don't know. If you guys have played a game with someone who hasn't played types of games before, and I'm probably in that group as well, you get like a unique perspective or things you take for granted that the game doesn't tell you until you do them wrong the first time. And these have all been like pretty funny moments for our playthrough. You know, like they've been like, oh yeah, of course. How would you know about that? And this is the first time, and now we're laughing. Or in the case of being party wiped, that one wasn't so much laughing. That one was pretty frustrating for everyone. But yeah. And my last question, yeah, go.
If I can share something, by the way, that will make your life so much easier in this game. F5 is to quick save. F8 is to quick load.
Okay.
That'll save you a lot of headaches. Yeah. Those will save so much time because the game auto saves at certain increments, but sometimes those increments can be up to 20 to 30 minutes apart. So yeah, it is wise to just be like, we just finished a fight, F5.
Okay.
So you don't have to redo a whole 20-minute, 30-minute fight.
We're pretty good now. We've got our rhythm, we've got our flow. We're moving through stuff. We're both having a lot of fun. We have our dialogue options with our partner, or our CPU that we control. That we're moving our relationship forward with them. A cool thing is Rianne's character. We're trying to roleplay our characters a little bit. So Rianne's character is pro worm, or pro the powers that the worm gives you, I should say. My character, my character is anti-illithid because he's a cleric, half-orc cleric, comes from a rough background, don't want no worms upstairs there. So he's trying to reject all the powers and the advice the Guardian is giving and upgrading anything. And I just want to ask you guys, without spoiling too much, are you pro or anti-worm?
What about you, Bubby? You answer this first because mine's going to be
on the worm. I haven't played enough of this game to have an opinion.
So, so as a person who is now in Chapter 3 again, and I'm doing it with a full team of multiplayer, and these are a bunch of nerds that we have played, RPGs and stuff like that. We're doing a bad campaign, so we just went full worm, like full brain, like worm, like full powers. And as someone who's already beat the game, and I was anti-worm, I noticed a very stark difference on how things happen and how effective you are in combat and out of combat. Being pro-worm can be negative, and being anti-worm can be very negative as well.
Interesting. Do you think because we have both of that in me and Rianne's playthrough to such extremes that we'll get both options?
Yes, you will. You will 100. Each person will be individually choice with like pro worm and bad. Like, have you gotten to the point where you can? I mean, I think you have, based on what you said, where you can eat another worm and put it in your brain.
Oh yeah.
Things get a little crazier in like Act 3 when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, the one thing I want to touch on, and so when I played this game, I took my time and I explored a lot of shit. Well, once we got to Act 3 and we got into a certain area, I'm like, I know a bunch of this stuff. I spent arguably the most amount of time in Act 3 because I wanted to explore the most interesting part of the game, which is the city. Well, I learned something extremely important about one of the main characters in the game. That's arguably the main character of the game / games. And I was like, what the fuck? How did I miss this? It's a boss fight where you fight something that's level 17 and you're at the time between level 10 and level 12. And it took us 3 tries to beat it. We party wiped twice, and boy, howdy, I was like, what the fuck? Like it made the game even better. Like that's how, and it's easy to miss. It is a completely secret area. Like you can just be like, like I'm gonna go save the world, and then completely miss this huge story part because one of my friends, he always makes fun of me because he thinks I'm just brutish and I just tumble through games because I play a bunch of different ones, right? And like one of our other friends he thinks is the polar opposite, that he takes too much time, and we both missed it. Like that's how easy it is to miss it. And so without any spoilers, pay attention to certain statues in a certain prison. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
That's all I have to. They're very small. They're sconces even.
I'm doing research for not research, but I started like the Digital Logic TikTok to throw little highlights from the episodes and maybe some gameplay and stuff. And so when I'm scrolling that feed, I am like in Baldur's Gate TikTok, and I'm like, how the fuck do I get off of this? Because every goddamn thing is a spoiler. I've spoiled myself so many times, but the thing is, I've already moved past in the story so many spoilers that I didn't even know were. You know, like I didn't even go to that area. I didn't even do that dialogue option. I never even knew this person existed.
You got to block all the tags, dude. You got to block Baldur's Gate. You got to block all that shit. But yeah, so when me and my friends first started, like when it first came out, we were like embargo on all social media, embargo on all YouTube until we beat the game at least once. And so I only got one thing spoiled to me. And at this point, after the last reveal that just happened on Tuesday, it is not even that big of a fucking spoiler. Like, yeah, it is insane. For those who don't know, by the way, and this actually happened day before yesterday, they just added a playable epilogue to the game.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to check that one out through our playthrough. Although I don't know, there might be an epilogue. We'll see. But yeah, it's a playable epilogue. I think it's only for the good ending, or endings. We'll see.
I feel bad. We haven't really engaged Bobby during this whole. Any love for Baldur's Gate? I mean, I know you like the game, Bobby. If you say you don't have the time, is that going to be the thing?
Yeah, well, of course that's the thing. But also, I want to do a single player game. That's really the only way I'm going to be able to do it. And
yeah,
I think that's sometimes the best way to play these games, so you can take them at your own pace. But while you guys were talking, I was scrolling through the negative reviews because this game is so highly reviewed that I am very curious as to what people have to say against it. A lot of people are complaining about technical issues, particularly with the third act, and it's gotten worse with the patches.
Oh.
So, I mean, the latest patch is said to fix it, but fix some of the stuff, but there was glaring issues with Act 3 as far as like technical shit and story. So because there are so many running stories and so many results and so many ways different things can go, there's only so many check marks before the game can go, okay, this is overlapping, this doesn't make sense, this is like a logic error, like, and all that kind of stuff. So in Act 3, the game is most prone to having those logic errors. And so they're trying to fix some of them. But what I will say is that in this newest playthrough of Act 3, I've maybe ran into one by the time in my own personal playthrough, which was 2 months or a month before this one, I probably ran into like 6 or 7. It wasn't game breaking. Like, it's not going to be like, well, I'm done with the game. But it is like, wait a second, didn't that either already happen or something way more important happen and we shouldn't be talking about this kind of shit? So,
okay. And there's one review that I just don't understand here. This guy says, until you remove the political face of lunatics from the front page, you will not have a good review from me. Can you shed any light on that?
I don't know what they mean by political lunatics. Maybe they're talking about the people that are
the political face of lunatics.
The political face
from the front page of the game. That's a mystery.
I think they're talking about they're talking about the character creation. That's what they're talking about. 100%. So many people are obviously anti this because people just like to be assholes, I guess. They're anti, trans or anti like LGBTQA plus.
Because the game lets you choose your genitalia and then also your gender.
It lets you choose your genitalia, your gender, and your body type, and you can pretty much bang anybody you want, regardless of what you choose. And so that's like, if you're talking about the political face, so you're talking about character creation at the beginning of the game, that's definitely character creation. That's what they're talking about. They're saying it so vaguely that they don't want to get banned or taken off.
That's so fucking stupid.
Well, maybe we can reach out to Bobo Teabaggins for some clarity.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like somebody. That's definitely someone with that username is definitely the person that uses the N-word openly on the internet. Let's talk about that.
I mean, he is a Coast Guard in New Jersey, or he's part of the U.S. Coast Guard in New Jersey. It's so funny when people put all this information on their Steam profile.
Yeah.
Anyway, ooh, howdy.
Bobo T. Baggins.
I might have to make some calls
to the Coast Guard. Oh yeah, Navy.
He's got a bone to pick.
But yeah, I'm kidding. But yeah, no. Anything else you want to talk about, Sniper, about this game that's immense that you can talk about for a whole podcast, or even have a podcast about the fucking game?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. As we're kind of going through it, I mean, I don't even want to say anything negative about it. And I don't think it is negative, but like Rianne's computer really chugs to play this game sometimes. Sorry, not chugs while playing the game, but upon loading the game. About half the times that she loads into one of our saves, every asset will be see-through except like the skybox or whatever the far textures are that you can't ever actually go to.
Interact with. Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you verified game files?
Yeah, verified game files, but she did spill, or we did. This computer's been through a lot. This is my old computer. Who knows how much shit I've spilled on that graphics card? It's not reliable hardware anymore, so I don't. It's probably not the game's fault, but it is kind of. If you don't have a good computer, I feel like this game might have some issues for you.
Do you ever think you might spend like $150 for like a 4060?
$150?
I mean, they were pretty low on Black Friday, and to the point where like people were getting insane deals, like $150 to $200.
Well, depending on what hardware you have in there, I don't know. You may have a bottleneck in your CPU or your memory.
Yeah, I have an i5 in there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I mean that would help, but at some point it's probably worth just to upgrade the machine.
Yeah,
entirely.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But as for Baldur's Gate 3, I'm going to continue being anti-worm. Rand will continue being pro-worm, and we'll get. Sorry. Right as you were saying political shit, this doesn't matter. But I thought this was actually pretty cool. We saved a bunch of gnomes, and this guy kept talking about his husband, and I was like. His husband, and then I was like, is this a female character? No, it's a man, and the person you save is his husband, like another man character. And I don't know, it's the first time in a long time that I've seen a gay relationship in an RPG, and it was pretty early on as well.
I'll tell you right now, there's a lot more than gay shit in this game. I'll tell you right now, it gets pretty crazy. So you'll be pleasantly surprised when you move further along. Yeah, some of the romance in this game is a little bit tearjerker. No matter what way you swing, you're like, oh my god,
oh no,
like it's just like but yeah, it is. Yeah, that stuff's just open, man. In a fantasy world where you have 48 different races and you get fucking shoot fireballs out of your fingers, who cares if you bone?
I mean, it's not a problem at all. But I kind of, there's such a hard response to this sort of stuff that I feel like maybe a lot of developers weigh the options and they're like, oh man, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? All the negative fucking bullshit I'm gonna get. And Larian was just like, nah, full send. We're gonna
fuck you. Don't play our game. We're gonna win game of the year anyways, bitch.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. Okay, Bobby. Mechabellum. I got you into my tentacles, and what did you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It reminded me a lot of Legion TD2, which it's a great game, but it is difficult. It's difficult, but not in the way that you think. So it's a strategy game where you can take your time. It doesn't rely on you having like super high clicks per minute and like a MOBA, but it requires a lot of knowledge. There's an incredibly deep level of knowledge that you have to learn as you play the game, and you've just got to memorize what each unit does, what counters it, and how to counter different strategies. So it's just a game that takes research and time, which is I don't know. I kind of have less patience for those games. I think I'm getting to that point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to stick with what's familiar and go back and play some Team Fortress 2 or something. But it is a good game. We struggled last week to define what the genre was. I think we were throwing around the word auto battler and God, what was it?
Tug of war.
Chess. Yeah, tug of war, auto chess. So on the Steam page, they call it an auto battler. And I don't know, what do they call Legion TD2? Because it's like the exact same thing. You set up your characters on one side, the enemy sets up theirs. They just run at each other. There's nothing you can do while the combat's going on. You just do the planning phase and let the attacks play out.
Well,
I think
Legion TD they call it tower defense.
Yeah. Well, they do tag it as auto battler as well.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think they called it tower defense because that was a mod way back in the day. And that was really the only terminology they had for something like that back then.
we did not know the future text.
We did not know. Yeah.
Have you? There was people that we were playing WoW Classic with, right? And they were like trying to tell us shit, and we were like, "Do not recite the old text to us. I was there when it was written." Like we were getting so mad at people. But yeah, Bobby, would you suggest that Mechabellum? Would you suggest this to someone who normally plays tower defenses, or maybe likes other auto battlers? I think the setting's really cool. Like I like the whole robots and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to spend more time with it to decisively say this, but I think I liked it better than Legion TD too. I don't know. I felt like I could not figure out that game. Like I couldn't figure out how to get good at that game. But when Christian and I were playing, we played some multiplayer, and we played the same people both times. And the first time, my very first multiplayer game ever, I just got slaughtered, no question. But then the next game, the rematch, we still lost, but I did notably better. So like I feel like I was kind of starting to understand what was happening and why I was losing. That's always the frustrating thing, and when you play a game and you don't understand what killed you or why you're losing.
Yeah.
Um,
They definitely could use like a stats page, hey Bobby, like after every round of combat, or maybe even at the end of the game, be like, this is your unit that did the most damage. This is the enemy unit that did the most damage to you, or something like that.
yeah, that would be helpful. I think a little bit of that is on me. Like I just need to pay attention and figure out what's going on. And when these are little micro machines on your screen. You've got to zoom in to see what's happening. But I did kind of figure it out at some point. Oh, he got these units, and these units can shoot down the rockets that my units are shooting. So, but I just don't. I haven't played the game enough to know. Okay, well, what counters that? So it's a bit of rock paper scissors, which I don't know. I don't know how you get around that in game design. Like people always complain about that, but it's like, what can you do though? What's the
I
other
feel
option?
like this is a bit deeper than rock. Yes, there are definitely hard counters, but like there's also, I feel like just positioning is such a big part of why people, like in the game we were playing, the guy spawned his factories, and the factories produce units over time. That's an upgrade you can get to the war factories. And he put his units on the very back of the field. And because we were playing 2v2, when one side is destroyed, your units go to your partner's side to help their battle. So you've basically doubled the length of the fight. So war factories are probably finally worth it because they produce a unit every 10 seconds or 5 seconds. But just in single player, like me versus someone else, I've almost never seen someone deploy a war factory because by the time they've deployed their first units, the round is pretty much over. So the positioning and the time of the rounds, and even those two game modes that we played, like when I played survival with you, I was like, oh yeah, this is really nothing like what I've been playing. Like this is a completely different thing. Yeah, rock paper scissors maybe, but also the positioning of your units super matters because units will just attack the closest unit to it, so you can kind of guess and counter certain strategies that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so you can get more value depending on where you place your units. So wait, was that the first time you had played 2v2s?
No, I played 2v2s before one time. Yeah. So I kind of knew what was about to happen, but yeah. The War Factory rush strat, that was crazy. That guy pumped out so many air units. I don't even know what to do with that. Like do you also just get war factories up? Because that's what you did the one round and you won. So
Yeah, see that I don't know. Like we played the first game against these two guys, and I figured out. I realized pretty much right away what my mistake was, so I corrected for that in the second game. Um, and then I reached a point where I was winning, so I didn't really know like what to do with all my money, and I don't think I spent it wisely. I didn't get like high end units, but yeah, I don't know. Like if we were to play round three, I'm sure we maybe even would have beat them. It is a little interesting though, and I don't know what the right answer here is, but we were winning pretty decisively at the beginning. We had both start with what, like 5,000 to 6,000 points, something like that, and then when you
Yeah.
win a round, you lose or they lose points. Um, so if you reach a point in the game where you just stop winning, it doesn't matter how close or how much damage you do. Like you can't. There's no sort of attrition there. Like you just start losing. So we kind of had them on the ropes. They're down to about 800 health, and then like the tides turned. They had units that countered ours, and we kept losing battles, and we just couldn't get a single win, which was all we really needed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of frustrating being on the other end of that, but I'm sure the reason that it's like that is because they want comeback mechanics, right? They want you to be able to, like, if you start playing really well, they don't want you to die anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is pretty cool. That is a cool thing, but it does suck to be on the other end. But to be on the other end, to like be like, okay, I won the next one. Can I win the next one? Okay, I won the next one. Can I win the next one? I have like 10 HP left. I have 2 HP left, you know? That probably feels pretty cool. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that right now, and this is a similar genre of game, but it's mobile. As far as like an auto battler, the later stages of PvP for Warcraft Rumble are being criticized for being able to lose so quickly. Like the point of, I just sent out my first 4 units, and if I didn't send out the correct ones, I've just lost. Like, and that's at like the top 15% of players. And so, it what's crazy is that the PvP in that game is a completely different game. Like it is something where you're leveling up units that have completely different uses from what they are in story mode. Like there's a character, every time you deploy him, he gets 35% more movement speed and 35% more attack speed. Well, in the story, you don't really use them. You use them because you really have to, right? But in the PvP, you make your whole army these cheap units so you can just keep deploying them as fast as you can, which works really well at the lower levels, but at the higher levels, it doesn't, right? But it's really weird that Bobby has the kind of the same complaint where there's a point where you start losing and then there's no way of coming back, which is like the way that Warcraft Rumble is doing kind of the comeback is they're changing the way towers work, or they're changing the buff of the month, or they're changing the map, and that's how people don't get like completely like stabilized or screwed based on like being able to lose immediately, I guess. So I wonder if Mechabellum might be able to introduce not a comeback mechanic, because comeback mechanics are really weird. They actually just took out some of them in Mario Kart, which is like the king of comeback mechanics. So I wonder if there's like maybe a balancing issue, because you don't want to lose immediately, I guess. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know. What I was saying about this was, I think there is comeback mechanics though. Like you can get down to like no health, but if you start making really good plays and winning rounds, then you won't die as long as you keep winning rounds. They
Oh,
can't
I
just,
see it.
yeah. But I don't know. It's so hard to do that because it's I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. Is it a zero sum game? Is that what they call this? When like in order for somebody to win, someone has to lose. So in order for someone to have a good time, someone else has to have a bad time. And
Oh, of course.
that's like just one of the central tenets of video games for the longest time, unless you play co-op, which is why I enjoy co-op so much more these days. But um, it's just like any competitive game that I've played. It's just like they always try to keep you at that 50% win rate. So half the time I'm pissed off, and the other half of the time I'm not even feeling that good. I'm just like, okay, good. Things are as they should be.
I think another thing with what we were playing is maybe the main game mode that most people are playing is 1v1s, just because it's the most accessible. And maybe they balance the whole game around that. And I have a feeling, because we played these guys twice, and they both got the same army, the same starting cards both times. I have a feeling they knew what they were doing. You know, they were trying to cheese. They were, because for people who haven't played this game, this will make no sense, but you should check it out. This guy's just massing steel balls, dude. Like, you would never do that in a single player game ever. You know, they're relatively high cost units, and there's not that many of them. But this guy had just way too many to handle. That's like all he bought basically the whole match. And so, the second
what's
round,
interesting?
What's interesting?
You go ahead and finish your story.
No,
Go ahead and finish
tell
your
me. No. What's interesting?
Is people do the same thing in Magic. It's when you play 2v2, there's somebody will have insanely high shit, insanely, like you would never, ever, ever play it in single player. But one person will have the defense and one person will have like the super big creatures or whatever, super big spells. So it's interesting to hear that in a computer game.
Yeah, no, that kind of checks out, because the one guy had the war factories, which really running into us, and the other guy had a bunch of anti-air. So I don't know. We're getting into the weeds on Mechabellum. Sorry about that long segment. 2 weeks in a row, we're really torturing you guys, but I would love to play Mechabellum with anyone who's interested. So if you do pick it up, let me know. And I tried to bother Nick. Nick did not befell to my tentacle arms, my Mechabellum.
You messaged me the day that WoW came out. I'm like, no. I'm sorry, dude.
I didn't know that, and I'm glad you played WoW, because honestly, when you were talking about it, it was pretty awesome. So, okay, Bobby, anything else on Mechy?
No, that's a wrap on Mechabellum.
Mechabellum. Okay, everyone, that means we're on to Guess That Sound. We're guessing that sound. There's $40 in the pot this week. It's a mystery sound. I'm going to play it. Then let's hear the guess. Ready, everyone? That's the sound people have been guessing for many weeks now. We add $5 to the pot every week. This week, Marco guessed, using your pickaxe to mine metals in Deep Rock Galactic, or engineer repairing a building in the original Command and Conquer. And since Marco is a patron, he gets two guesses on his email. Unfortunately, Nick, can I get a drum roll? It's wrong! It's wrong! I'm sorry, it's wrong! But never fear. Nick and Bobby get a chance to help you. The first help clue was melee, something melee. The second clue I can reveal, but I'm looking at both of your faces right now. Don't close any tabs. Don't shift to anything I'll know. Okay, don't look anything up. Play in the spirit of the game. Nick and Bobby, you know I'm from Canada. You know up here, it's a different world down in the United States of America, this republic you have going to the south of the border. It's crazy. I hear crazy things. The craziest thing I hear is all these fast food restaurants you have, and you have so many and such a variety of them, it amazes me. But do you know any Canadian fast food restaurants? Between you two, I want you to name 3 Canadian fast food restaurants.
Tim Hortons. It's actually a fast food restaurant, right?
Yes.
What do you got? You got anything, Bobby?
No.
I
assumed you had the same fast food we had here.
They do, but they have a couple of others. Oh my god. Fuck.
A million Canadians who listen to this podcast cry out in sadness. I think I've given you guys long enough. Nothing? Tim Hortons?
No,
I mean, that was
Tim
good.
Hortons.
That was good. Yeah.
There's another one that has like a red logo with white lettering, and I can't remember what the fuck it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Totally. Yeah. Oh, they were so close. Maybe that it's a little difficult. I'll play the wrong answer thing again because I like the sound effect. They didn't get to help you this week. They didn't get to help you this week. That's so sad. I think you're thinking of Boston Pizza, Nick.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking of. That's exactly what it is.
No idea.
So, a cultural exchange here didn't happen on the DL Gaming podcast this week, but next week you can guess. And how can you guess? The pot will be $45. It's Steam credit. That's a game, 2 games, 3 games on a sale. Winter's coming up. I don't think you want to miss it. Email pixelshitshow@gmail.com to guess. And if you're a patron, Just make sure you're emailing us from the same email that you used to sign up for Patreon and send in 2 guesses. And like Marco, I'll read them both. I love this segment. This segment is my pride and joy. How do you guys feel about it?
I like it. I'm wondering what's going to happen when it reaches $100. If we're going to get a lot of new listeners to be able to solve this, or if someone's going to start using AI. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. There's probably some AI doohickey someone could put this through, but I guess we have no plugs or subs, so we're on to listener questions, Bobby.
And we've got just one this week, and that is coming from Tattooed Terror. He says, or he asks, who made the intro and outro DLG music, and why is it so good? I don't think you guys know who made this.
I don't. I know it was a listener, wasn't it?
It was. So a long time ago, God, I'll have to dig up this audio clip to see if we still have it. A long time ago, one of our listeners named Frubs, or maybe it was Frub. I think it's Frubs. He sent us an intro because he does this like professionally. Or not exactly this, but he works with audio professionally. And he sent us an intro that had clips of things Emilio and I think Chi and maybe Chad at the time had said. And it was great, man. It was awesome.
Do you still have that?
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, we could go back and grab it from an old episode. Those are still
okay,
like,
cool.
if you go back to like 2015, 2016, I think 2016, 2017, they're probably on those episodes. But then, cast members change, things change. So after we needed a new intro, we went to him, and I kind of felt bad because he had done that like just out of generosity the first time. But then, it's always different when people ask you to make something.
Yeah.
And I think we bought him a game for it too. But I know that kind of work is that kind of creative work is very demanding. But he came up with this intro that we currently have, and we really, really liked it, and we haven't changed it since.
Yeah. And recently we changed from a long version to a short version. Did he send you both, or is the short version just cut long version? And
No,
is
I
there a
just
longer
trimmed.
version? Is there a longer version of the long version, dude?
I don't
It's a
think
full
so, no.
5-minute song.
He just sent us the one 30-second version, which for me, I mean, I don't mind a long intro on a podcast because when I listen to podcasts, I know the ones that I listen to, I've got a fast forward button that jumps ahead 30 seconds. So I know each podcast, like I can skip 1 minute ahead on this one or 30 seconds ahead on that one. It's going to put me right there in the episode, but I don't know. Yeah, we get right to it now on this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Good way
Well,
to save
Frubs.
time.
Is Frubs still out there?
He must be. He's on my Steam friends list, which I
Dude.
never look at anymore.
Send him a hey boy, how's it going? Send him a
Yeah,
hey
he
man.
was last online 4 weeks ago. It's been a while, so.
Oh no. I always hate that. Yeah. Anyways, cool. What's everyone playing this week?
I'm supposed to start a double date Baldur's Gate playthrough.
Ooh, double date Baldur's Gate. I love it.
Yeah, so it's going to be me, my wife, and then her niece and her husband. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Cool.
For the King 2 came out. I didn't realize that. I don't know if I'm going to pick that up and play it though. We'll see. I really want to play some more Sea of Thieves. There's not much to talk about with it though. They came out with the Monkey Island stuff, and I think like I'm a little bit behind on that, but yeah, probably not too much there. And then I don't know. I'll find something. I bought Titanfall 2 like for $1 or something so long ago, and I've been meaning to play that. Still haven't.
Okay. Dang. I don't know. The week ahead of me is open. I want to get back into playing some Victoria 3 because they've just released. I haven't played since they released 2 or 3 or 4 updates that have kind of completely changed the game, which happens with Paradox Grand Strategy titles. It's always kind of cool to play one version of the game than another one. Sometimes it's not exactly better, but completely different. Like with Stellaris, that has had such a long life. Like playing Stellaris 5 years ago, completely different game, but still pretty fun than playing Stellaris now. So maybe Victoria 3, but you know what, Bobby? I would do I wouldn't do anything. I would do some things to join you aboard the ship. What's your ship name again?
Which one? Oh, the two-man ship, the Scooty Puff Jr.
The Scooty Puff Jr. I would do
Is that
a
from
lot.
Futurama? The Scooty Puff Jr.
I would love to play some Sea of Thieves, because when we played it last, I had kind of a ridiculous amount of fun. It's been a long time since I've played a co-op or like PvP game where I've had that much just kind of dumb fun. So, but I don't want to, only if the invitation is open, dude. I don't want to take up places on the Scoony Patootie or whatever.
Like, Bobby's on the ship and he just sees Sniper running. He's just like, unmoor the ship, run!
Get out of port. Get out of port. Yeah. Okay.
But,
I'm sure I have lost whatever talent I had at that game. So we're probably on the same level.
Okay, probably not. Okay, Nick, I guess, would you like to do the honors of signing us all off into oblivion?
Sure.
We never said where Emilio is, by the way, which is kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that's weird. You probably think we assassinated him or something. We're not acknowledging his existence. Yeah, he's very tired and or sick. So feel better, take a nap, drink some booze. I don't know. Do whatever you do to recharge, buddy. This has been the DLG podcast. Thank you very much for listening. We love you all. Big kisses and hugs. Happy holidays so far. I will say Santa Claus titties. Thank you.
Santa Claus titties.